Hey. Good afternoon, good grand rising, and welcome Black to the beatzillapdx official show. I am the host, beatzillapdx officially. And again, we are, this is just more of the same series that I've already been doing. Um, Going on. Hey, what's going on? Who all do we have in here? All right. We have Countess Outlaw, Ayan Matbay, Oyela, Aket, Queen Adia, or Adia. Let's see who else is in here. Okay, that's who's in here so far. Um, Shout out to the new Black media in the Royal Court, and also to the Empires of Alkebulon. Greetings. All right. So, just start kind of a recap of the last broadcast, which was about Black Wall Street. So, understanding that whole time frame when they were having things out there in Oklahoma, there were other cities. I also brought up Bronzeville, and there were many different places, Rosewood, places that were flourishing on their own. We had a Black community here in Portland, Oregon, that they ended up running the freeway right through the Coliseum, so forth. That's how that goes on here. They claim eminent domain, and then just run you out of town. So this has been a practice, and if they couldn't get eminent domain, then they just go ahead and come through and burn your town down. So with that being said, you know what? Can I make this bigger? Okay. Let me share this screen. So, just showing with the destruction that they laid down on these Black folks in Tulsa. Again, this will be 100 years, June 1st. A group of whites. No, they definitely had help, like U.S. government help. So don't ever get it twisted. They definitely had assistance. There were bombs dropped on the place. So without question, they knew what they were doing, and just tore this place up. And so this is one of the elements of showing how Black excellence, it literally breeds white supremacist envy. And you got to think, this is a country that was founded on the ideals of white supremacy and superiority of one group over another. That's just the basic truth of that. Now, with that being said, J. Edgar Hoover mentioned that one of the biggest threats to national security is Black unity, and also how there would not be another Black Messiah unless they created one. Well, with that being said, if you create one, then they're controlled, and so that's what we see out of our leaders today. We see a lot of controlled people. You understand what I'm saying? Let me see. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, I wanted to just show you just how rich they were having things. And then also in LA, they call this lady the grandmother of LA. And her name is Biddy Mason. So she was a former slave. One thing I was watching this and I was thinking, former slaves were probably the closest of understanding the art of industry, because coming out of slavery, they understood that their slave owners were in an ownership position, and that's how they were wielding power. So, so she, being one of those former enslaved people coming into her own, I guess you could say, she was able to basically consolidate her money and get some real power, and started moving into the path of ownership. So this is something that I saw as, and I wanted to investigate what would be the answer to make sure that these black enclaves didn't spread. Because see, black empowerment is really the Messiah. If you understand what I'm saying. Because see, the thing about it, if you have a Messiah, what their biggest fear is that you would have people waking up on a grand scale, such as today. But also understanding how to wield their power. You feel what I'm saying? So let's hit up first. Let me just introduce everyone to who Biddy Mason was.
In the early spring of 1848, a wagon train of Mormon settlers set out from Mississippi. They were headed west for Great Salt Lake Valley in Utah. Of the 90 men, women, and children, 34 were enslaved black people. One of them was Bridget Mason, known as Biddy. She was forced to trek nearly 1,500 miles with her enslavers, Robert and Rebecca Dorn Smith. She walked through rain, mud, floods, and ice, all the while tending to oxen, serving the Smiths, and caring for her 3 young children. We know very little about Biddy's early life, except that she was born into slavery in 1818 and taken away from her mother as a baby. It's believed that Biddy was raised by older enslaved women who were like grandmother figures to her. With them, she learned the healing properties of plants and the gift of delivering babies. As a young adult, Biddy and her daughters were sent to toil for the Smiths on their tenant farm in Mississippi. That's how Biddy Mason ended up a forced laborer on a Mormon caravan. 3 years after arriving in Utah, California beckoned the Smiths, and Biddy was forced to move again. This time, Biddy Mason was forced to hike more than 400 miles through punishing desert to what is now San Bernardino. Slavery was illegal in California, but that did not stop the Smiths from holding Biddy and her daughters captive for 4 years. At a local market where Biddy purchased goods for the Smith family, it's believed that she became friends with free black people who lived in the area. They encouraged Biddy to take her freedom. One day she learned, much to her alarm, that the Smiths were relocating to Texas and taking her and her children with them. It's believed that upon her departure, some of her free black friends alerted the sheriff's office. The sheriffs produced a court order to the Smiths and took Biddy Mason and her children into protective custody. The Smiths denied Biddy Mason and her family were enslaved, insisting they were traveling to Texas of their own free will. Their freedom was now to be decided by the courts. Biddy's case was brought before Judge Benjamin Hayes. At that time, it was against the law for a person of color to testify against a white person in court. Biddy Mason would not be allowed to tell her story. However, when Biddy's lawyer did not show up to court, Judge Hayes did something very unusual. He called Mason into his chambers. If you return to Texas, he told her, you will have to leave your children behind. They cannot be unjustly imprisoned in a slave state. Biddy's response was emphatic. I do not wish to be separated from my children and do not, in such case, wish to go. Judge Hayes ordered Biddy and her children set free. A free woman, Biddy moved to Los Angeles, where she used her skills as a healer to find work. She became a doctor's assistant and started a business as a midwife. Saving her earnings and buying property, Biddy Mason became one of the richest people in Los Angeles. She was celebrated for her generous philanthropy. Biddy Mason founded the African American Methodist Episcopal Church, one of the largest black congregations in Los Angeles to this day. A monument in Los Angeles honors her remarkable achievements. In speaking up for her own freedom, Biddy Mason spoke up for the humanity of all black people.
All right. So that is Biddy Mason. Just another, superstar pioneer coming from slavery, doing the whole bootstrap thing, as they say. Now, the one thing that I want to make a note of, did you notice, even in California, although slavery was illegal, a black person could not testify against a white. So you couldn't testify against a white person as a black person in California. Although it's a free state, still hella racist. So, that's one of the things to take note of. As much as these people were building their wealth, so they were still being worked against legally. So that's another part of our reparations claim as foundational Black Americans, the descendants of these slaves. Because again, a lot of these people had money, and for the places that got bulldozed, which they pretty much built, combining their wealth, doing all the things that we speak of today, of trying to get done and accomplished on a grand scale. So you got to understand, that is the Messiah as far as white supremacy is concerned. You understand? Because that part right there you have to attack it. So let's look at what happened. You have one thing that people can worry about, which would be Black financial independence, wealth, which then would have moved into political. I think with the push of the civil rights agendas, the alarm was sent. The alarm rang. You know what I'm saying? So, for instance, understanding that's why they wanted segregation, and until they figured out how segregation would really benefit tearing down the structure of Black economics. Well, they came with foolproof plans. And one of the plans would be to make Black folks consumers, not owners, but consumers, not creators, authenticators. No, but just workers and spenders. That's what they needed to put us in position for. Because now, generations later of our generation, we have no institutions that can that we can rely on to keep our financial situation going and live in a better state than what we have been put in. So let me show y'all this. So what they figured out is that, man, these Black folks have a lot of money. So what we need to do is we need to get them out of the mind of ownership and coming together and start getting them in the mindset of integrating their dollar. Queen Ahmadiyya Shakur tells you all the time, don't spend your money. Same thing that was said by Minister Farrakhan. Don't spend your money with people who won't spend it with you. They won't even hire you, but yet you'll give them your money. Well, see, they have made Black folks the permanent underclass to make sure that we don't come together and collectively start creating power. Now, even still within what we're doing, even this is a powerful thing because we are able to connect with one another. We're able to talk to one another and build with one another. And that is a threat. That doesn't even, That's not even bringing finance or political power into the mix. However, what I will say, but the grassroots and the new black media has shown within 1 year 2 convicted police officers. Something that the brother or the sister that's over there trying to, hopefully she's, in a good recovery. Our sister over there, Sasha, in the UK, something I was looking at while they were talking about her, they called her an anti-racism activist. Now over here, we hear Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Over there, they called her an anti-racism activist. I was like, okay, well, we need to adopt that. I like that right there because it's not tied to anything. Another thing about what that sister had accomplished since George Floyd. So within this time of the year of this big push, she got a black political party started. You understand what they don't want happening here? And we still influence the world. We just don't understand how much we do. But just with the little spark that could come from us can make moves like moving mountains all over the world. That's a powerful, powerful sentiment. And you got to understand, that's a political party within a few months. That means that people were able to get on code. But we got the whole, see, the things that America has done to these people, which is buck broken, the men and the women. Rape the women, buck break the men. Buck break the men, conquer everyone else. Well, with that being that conquered mindset and the bourgeoisie collaborators, such as this person that you're about to see on the screen here. And I'm not going to play this whole video, but we're going to sift through a few little points in this. And this is the answer. Okay, so this is the answer to what they had to squelch our finance. Okay, this little thing is called The Secrets to Selling the Negro. And basically it was to selling to the Negro. So this is a marketing video educating people on how to get this black money that they wasn't getting before. So they went through and destroyed all the black industries to start funneling our funds through everyone else. That title. The Publishers of Ebony. So as this intro is going, again, I want you to see something. Now, this is done by the Johnson Corporation, which is the publishers of Ebony and Jet, Tan, and Hue at the time, which, I guess some things never change. You know what I mean? Some things never change. So what this is about how white businesses and white corporations will get
Hello,
the black dollar.
I'm Bob Trout. I've got a story here that I think is big, really big, because it's bound to have a terrific impact on business. I'm talking...
This dude's black, by the way.
Talking about a new market, a big new market. Millions upon millions of new prospects with $15 billion to spend. That's right, I said $15 billion. That's a lot of money, isn't it? The surprising thing is that it's a fresh market. Still...
Now, $15 billion to spend at that time. Y'all understand what kind of economic power black folks could have had by coming together instead of looking to separate. We separated from ourselves to integrate with everybody else. $15 million, $15 billion at that time, man, black folks was really having it. They had to get that out the paint. Do you understand me?
Full of opportunities. It grew up so fast, got so big in a hurry, that few of us realize its scope. Now, these days, nobody's likely to pass up chances to sell.
Right, conscious.
Yet right here in our own front yard, there's a neglected market. There's money waiting to be spent. To get the story of this market, to be able to tell you the secret of selling the Negro, we did a lot of digging. We talked to leading businessmen, to customers, and to salesmen. We went to Washington, D.C. We set up cameras and other key points around the nation. And out of this all, there emerged a story, the story of a new market. Yes, this is the market we're talking about, the new Negro family. Their name is Wells or Wilson, Smith or Brown or Alexander or Breen. They live in Chicago, in Atlanta or New York, in Detroit, St. Louis, Los Angeles, any one of 1,000 cities and towns.
Now, just take note of how this brother is presenting black folks to white people. All skin folk ain't kin folk, man. Oh, man. Yes, they have been studying us since they stole us, since before they stole us. No, they were studying us when we was over there running Europe. So they definitely was waiting to get back on that horse. You understand what I'm saying? That Black Death came through there. They was right back at it. So here we are as the result. And again, that's one of the biggest reasons why you had to strip people here of their knowledge. Because even coming to this place and change, being so many generations, or either being here and being tossed in change, for all of these, couple centuries? You know, for all of that time, that you're so far removed from everything that you are, but yet something inside of you brings you right back to doing what you do best. That is an exceptional people. That's how great you are.
All over the country, families such as this are enjoying new prosperity. They have new interests, new standards of living, a buying power they've never enjoyed before. There are good prospects for practically all types of goods and services.
You know, being in chattel slavery probably would not put you in the mindset of being in the market of buying items. I mean, you know, then you get out of slavery and they got Jim Crow for you. And then here comes the Depression. Oh, man, things just keep getting better and better and better. But look at what happened with the black folks. Somehow they were thriving. See, so while everybody else was jumping out of buildings and eating the bullets, black folks was getting it. Why? Because when black folks was coming together, they weren't affected by how the other markets that they were already shut out of were affected. So they was able to make it.
All too often, though, they're overlooked prospects. Why? Because of some good, valid reason? No. They're overlooked because of mistaken ideas, because of out-of-date ideas about how the Negro lives and how he buys. The truth of the matter is that the Negro lives pretty much the same as other folks. He buys pretty much the same way, too. But just the same, a lot of old doubts and opinions keep cropping up over and over again.
I don't like to do business with Negroes. They're drifters. You can't keep track of them.
Yes, although a lot of people think that way, the truth is that 1 out of every 3 Negro families living in cities today owns its own home. That figure comes directly from the United States Bureau of Census.
Maybe so, but Negroes are poor credit risks.
Not more of a credit risk than any other group. Actually, the Negro homebuyer meets his payments faithfully, often more faithfully than other race groups in the same economic level.
Whoops. See how they try to put these fake stereotypes on us? Black folks was still on top of they was on their game. Okay. And again, what can we say? They were doing it together. I can't stress that enough. That is one of the most important factors of this. And they had to destroy this. So you have to get the money that you can from here. And then you got to start reducing the control power before these Negroes wake up and realize they could do more with their money. Like all these other groups that come here do, that don't even vote. No, they put their money where their mouth is and get things done. That's how business works. Politics is business. It's not a moral situation. It is dollars and cents.
That's the information we got from people who ought to know, the National Association of Real Estate Boards.
Well, maybe, but I've always heard that Negroes buy shoddy, poor quality merchandise.
No, it's just the other way around. According to leading researchers, in proportion to population and income, Negroes buy more quality products than any other comparable United States group. You see, there are a lot of confused notions about the Negro customer. But when you dig right down and find out about them, they just don't hold water. Negroes own homes. They meet their payments faithfully. They buy good brands of merchandise. So why let a lot of old-fashioned ideas hurt profits? Take a look.
Whoa, did you hear that? Why let a bunch of old ideas hurt profits? See, you understand what the plan was. It was all about making black folks consumers. That's how you get yourself to being a permanent underclass. So even back then, they were studying the whole idea of, shall we say, name brands. So black folks was going after these name brands back then as like a status thing. Let's watch.
Look at the real facts. Here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, some amazing facts and figures about this new market have been uncovered. For a first-hand report, we would like to take you directly to the United States Department of Commerce to hear this story from the Secretary of Commerce himself. Here is the Honorable Sinclair Weeks, the Secretary of Commerce of the United States.
In the Department of Commerce, we are constantly alert to trends that mean a healthier national economy, better business for the nation as a whole. Recently, we have been interested in a rising young market, one that represents a huge potential for goods and services. I'm referring to the new Negro market. The tremendous buying power of this group is backed, of course, by an increased earning power. The average Negro family's income is at a record high. In fact, since 1939, it has increased more than the average income of all other Americans. Just take a look at a few figures. An official Department of Commerce report shows that at least 1/3 of the Negroes living in cities earn from $2,000 to $5,000 a year. Today, the average Negro wage earner brings home a paycheck 4 times larger than the one he collected in 1939. As a whole, the Negro market has a total income of about $15 billion every year.
Now, take note of that. Now, what they were saying, they were black folks was making 10 times more. What they didn't explain is why that was. If you have black folks that are now becoming this more financially independent, how did it happen when they were being shut out of everything else? That means they were doing it by themselves. They were circulating their dollars so much so that it was forcing the rest of the world to take notice. Because here these go, these freshly released slaves, probably some of them illiterate, teaching themselves to read, teaching themselves how to count money, and understanding the financial aspect and the importance of ownership. So don't look down. And I understand how people say, I don't want to watch slave movies. No, I don't really want to watch slave movies with their narrative, but I would not mind watching a slave movie with our narrative. I mean, I got I got stories handed down to me from when my family members were in slavery. You know, and some stories were quite liberating. That's how a lot of us black folks came out west. Some had to be forced out.
And after taxes, Negro families still have many billions of dollars to spend.
Balling.
Here is a buying power that cannot help but have a tremendous effect on our national economy and on business prosperity in general.
Also, now what he didn't say, you better hear what he didn't say. It could be a threat to anything national. One of the first things would be security, and one of this country's thing is finance. So it's built on finance. So if you can threaten the financial makeup, that means you can threaten national security with your success. I hope y'all understanding what I'm saying here. These people have had a target on our backs from before our inception. You understand? I mean, it's serious. And this is how deep they study. This ain't new. You know what I mean? So this is going all the way back. Like, so when we see things, we got to recognize the long con game. So these people are playing the long con game. That's how this works, because they've been studying what we do since from way back when, you know?
When these dollars are spent for a wide range of goods, services, and employment, business everywhere is bound to feel the impact.
This new buying power.
Okay, so I'll cut that one off for now, because I think you guys get the message of what I'm saying. So understand, they knew then that the buying power, that key word in that phrase, power, that it's power when you have the enough influence to change such a long-standing makeup. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Since before your parents were born, we were targeting. They targeting our dollars. Absolutely. Because again, if you cut the legs out from anything, it can't run. And so getting us to take our dollars out of our own was relinquishing our power. Segregation did a doozy on us. And that's that burning house. Yeah, Martin Luther King was right. You know, I guess he spoke a little carefully, but he should have just really been honest with it and said, yeah, I did send them into a burning house because I integrated our power right away. Some people need to start looking at what some of these words mean, like inner, because some people think inner and enter mean the same. They don't. So sometimes when you're using the inner, like inner, they say intersectionality, but what they really mean is intersexuality. And what you're doing is you're taking one and basically erasing part of it to become something else. Now, for us, when black folks are brought intersectionality, that means exclude the black man. Well, as you see, the gender divide has not helped us much at all. But the government and everybody, the industry, the brands, oh man, they just have had their way. They have had their way. Inner, within, yes indeed. Enter, going into, absolutely. And these people will do some of the most nefarious, wicked tactics with a smiling face and kind words. And then they'll send those that look like us to us. That, per my broadcast, taking out the trash. So when we see these people come, even if they hollering, oh, black power, and then they start switching up, yeah, you know, Cast them to the side. Because at the end of the day, we understand what time it is. And I'm just going to let one of our Queen Mother elders tell you what time it is.
But the system of white supremacy says, melanin is being destroyed. But the system of white supremacy says, I will be able, by offering grants, I will be able by offering jobs, to tell you that you are the cause of the death of black people. I'll be doing it, but I'll make you focus on yourself and try to figure out how you can destroy one another. I'll do it to you in Rwanda. I'll set up the Hutu and I'll set up the Tutsis. I will give each group all the weapons they need. And I say, now I have taught you to hate your melanated selves. Now you fight each other. I'll do it to you on the streets in Los Angeles. I'll set up one group, the Crips, and another group, the Bloods. I'll set up all kind of Muslim groups and say, fight each other. I know I can get you to do it because I have programmed you for thousands of years to hate black. But if we don't see that this war is on the table, we will go off focusing on something else altogether, and the slaughter will continue. So I say, and I know you've heard me say this before, that when I say that the system of racism, white supremacy, is the critical thing that we must focus on because that is what is waging war against us. The white people came up with a plan some years back, Global 2000, in which they said it's too many people of color on this planet. By the year 2000, it's necessary to get rid of 2 billion. They are about business. They are about serious business, removing as they deem necessary the people of melanin on this planet. If we do not understand and make an analysis that this is fundamental, it is this dynamic that is taking us out. Everything that we look at, everything else, I believe, and I could be wrong, but as it comes to me, it will be in vain. Everything that we are studying is important. Everything that we look at has high-level significance. But if we are not understanding this massive war and what is at stake, I believe we will not be able to apply our energy force in a laser-type manner so that we really begin to neutralize the war that is coming at us. To me, it is critically essential for us to develop or to articulate a new world order of
Yeah, for us, and which is the code. Being on code. The code is the leader. The code is the leader. Now, understanding a war on melanin, that means a war on us, a war on foundational Black Americans and melanated people abroad. It's been evident. We've had much evidence and proof that there is a war and we are the target. So now, understanding how we got here, because again, understanding $15 billion of buying power, you got to get that controlled or dialed down a bit. Now, if we're looking at making sure that we are thinning out our numbers, well, let's see. One way would be encouraging, which I don't, I'm not a proponent per se for contraceptive because contraceptive, yeah, maybe like condoms, yes. Birth control, I believe that's not healthy for women. It is convenient, but I don't believe it's healthy. And then you have Planned Parenthood, which is founded by Margaret Sanger, who is a eugenicist, who also was very close friends and her co-founder of Planned Parenthood, Mr. William Gates Sr. So, if, I taught, like say, for instance, my son, my oldest son, he was taking his a philosophy course. And this is before the pandemic. And he had a chance to go meet Professor Griff. So he went to, my son, definitely a child of mine, so he went and hollered at Professor Griff and went ahead and got a chance to get a little conversation. Didn't even think to get a picture. I don't know why, but this is the type of thing. He's inclined to go beyond code. So would we think that another man's son would be that far off code? But look at where Bill Gates Jr. Is putting most of his efforts right now. Some would probably say, well, hey, that's interesting that you are concerned now about certain things. But, if the people that you came from, your father and the people that he was associated with the Rockefellers, and I showed you that picture on a previous broadcast. So you can't fact check me on that one. That one exists. So with that being said, they made sure that they had a plan, a long-term plan of control, shall we say. And control means they want to be in a position of God. So they want to be able to make God-like choices for you, for me, for everyone else on the planet. Especially us, though. Especially us. Let me see. I got something else to play for you. So, let me play a little bit of this for y'all. And just to see how they just kind of show the state of where they wanted us. So just understand how they watch everything we do. Because if you don't know who your enemy is, you can't find a means of controlling it and minimizing its damage. See, our unity damages the system of white supremacy. I'll say it again. Our unity damages white supremacy. The system cannot stand with our unity. It's impossible. That's why they must at all costs make us the underclass, have us separated, and have us hating ourselves so we can't even love each other. They did a bang up job, haven't they? Now, a large part of that is for the people that came before us buying into their game. And a lot of people were just simply tricked. Because you're thrown out of the confines of slavery into the world, just trying to find your way as new beings. I mean, so I can't really blame anybody for probably thinking that maybe this old racist white man will love me one day. I can't really knock that. But I mean, understand that you got somebody who would do that to you ain't going to fall in love with you overnight or ever.
Nothing. Did you live with your parents?
Yeah, with my mother.
You live with your mother? Where your father?
I don't know where he at.
How old are you?
23.
23, you work?
No, I'm unemployed at the time.
What kind of work you do?
None right at present.
What do you do for a living?
Part-time work.
In a slum area of North St. Louis, where 178,000 people live, the unemployment rate is 4 times the national average.
Your area conscious?
The underemployment rate is a startling, sobering 38.9%.
Well, my husband couldn't afford a living for my kids and I. So I decided to change things by leaving and trying to do better here.
Well, they say that the man is the head of a house. But here in this country, that's the opposite with the Negro mill. The Negro mill are the last hired and the first fired.
Quite natural, he couldn't afford clothing like they should have had, and food. So that makes a great difference.
Because for the most part, the man is supposed to be the chief breadwinner. He's supposed to be able to provide for his female.
You know, mother always thinks about what a kid gonna grow to be. If they don't have these proper things, it puts different things on their minds coming up, you know. You never know.
And a social aspect of, theaters, and we can go to the restaurants, and we can go to all of the parks and the museums now where heretofore we couldn't go. But on the job question, we're still just where we started. We haven't made any breakthrough at all.
All right. Now, are you hearing what he just said? They ain't made no breakthrough at all. What happened? Okay, remember, like I just told you, they had to figure out how to get that black money out of black folks' hands. So now they're letting you come to their stuff. And look what happened. Look what happened. You got included and your funds got diluted. I mean, what can we say? I mean, good grief. This is very clear. Yeah, Conscious Outlaw. When I saw this, I was like, damn, that's how it goes down in St. Louis, huh? I mean, I'm not surprised, though, because, a lot of these places have them, they were founded by racists. They just knew how to speak good. That's all. A lot of these places were funded on anti-black sentiments. So nowhere in the United States at that time did they ever give a damn about black Americans. that had never been the case. That's why when you hear, oh man, black people are underserved and black people are unsalaried, what you can do is cut that check. You can stop taxing us and you can give us free health insurance. Funny how that never came out of the congressional coon black caucus's mouths. Free health insurance. That would be a novel idea, considering how insurance companies made their money off of slavery. Stop letting these people tell you things that you just shouldn't even be ever believing because they never meant you any good. Now, with that being said, just see how the destruction just came that fast. So learning how to control our dollar. And this wasn't done by just random consumers. Let's look at this video. So I'm going to play this clip, and then I got some more stuff. Silent D, what's going on, my brother?
When it comes to economic mobility for black males. Income inequality is often cited as an important factor in holding people back. But a new analysis suggests black boys and black men face economic disadvantages even if they start off from a similar point of income and wealth as their white counterparts. Yamiche Alcindor is back with our conversation.
A new study released this week underscores just how big a gap African-American males face when it comes to moving up the economic ladder. Some of the findings are dramatic. White boys who grow up in rich households are likely to remain that way. Black boys who are also raised at the top are more likely to become poor instead of staying wealthy in their own adult households. Black boys fare worse than white boys in 99% of America, even when children grow up next to each other with parents who earn similar incomes. Raj Chetty of Stanford University is one of the co-authors of this study. He joins me now. Thank you so much, Raj, for being here. This report seems to indicate that black men will fare worse than white men, even if they are raised in households with similar incomes. Can you explain what's happening there?
Yeah, so one of the most striking findings of the study to us was that even if you take black and white boys raised in families at exactly the same income level, even at high income levels, you see that black boys end up with very different outcomes on average relative to white men. They're less likely to complete high school, they're less likely to go to college, they have significantly lower earnings in adulthood. And that phenomenon, interestingly, applies really only to black men. When we look at black versus white women, you see much more similarity in their outcomes if they grow up in families of similar income. So it's something unique to what's happening to black men in America that I think is really a concern for generations going forward in terms of perpetuating inequality by race.
And that inequality is really striking to me. One of the things that this study reports is that African-American men who will grow up in households with two parents that are earning $140,000, they fare about the same as a white young man who is raised by a single mother making just $60,000. How can that be true? Because it feels so counterintuitive. And what does that mean for African-American families and their futures?
Yeah, what you're getting at really is the finding that there's a great deal of downward mobility in black families. So you would have thought intuitively, that's what we expected going in, is when you get to a certain income level, maybe racial disparities disappear, that at some point kind of escape the poverty trap. But that really doesn't seem to be the case. Even once your parents reach a high income level, it continues to be the case that black men have higher odds of essentially ending up in the bottom of the income distribution than staying at the top of the income distribution. And that's why you get this pattern that black men's outcomes look comparable to white men growing up in relatively low or middle income families.
You mentioned in the study that there are unique obstacles that black men face. Just to be clear, are we talking about racism and racial bias, or what are those unique obstacles that black men in particular face?
Yeah, so to try to get at that, we look at how this varies across different parts of the country. So look neighborhood by neighborhood and ask, are there some neighborhoods in America where you see small black-white gaps, or perhaps black men doing better than white men? And surprisingly, you find essentially no such areas. In 99% of neighborhoods in America, you see better outcomes for white men than black men. Now, digging in deeper, you can ask, where do we see relatively good outcomes for black men? And there are a couple of factors that pop out from that analysis. One, you see that areas with larger rates of father presence in homes among black men, you have better outcomes for black boys there. So if there are more two-parent families, particularly among African-American households, you see better outcomes for black boys.
I agree with that. And, but see, also let's look at the fact that the men were taken out based on just what you just seen in the previous video. The sister basically said she left her husband. She took her and her 3 kids away from her husband so she could go get more money. So it was the finance versus keeping the family together. That's not really a for better or for worse or for richer or for poor. That's more or less you just saying, well, hey, man, this is not good right now, so I'm out. And now you have these kids that'll go to a whole new city, go to a whole new environment that they don't have any grounding in, and have to navigate without the father's guidance. I really don't see how that would help. But at that time, that's what was being pushed. And again, I totally get that these people were sold a bill of goods because they just weren't fully aware of how much that this government was really, really, really looking to keep black folks as a permanent underclass. So yeah, as far as being free from chattel slavery, yes, but we're going to make you slaves in every other avenue of life. So we got to get this money out your hands. $15 billion all the way back then. We can't have that, especially all of these billionaires that were making that money that were not controlled by white money. You see how dangerous they were talking about, it's a danger, and the power, and danger, and power. So understand, those were a lot of black men that I read off over there that lost their lives 100 years ago on Black Wall Street come June 1st. These people hate the black dollar. They hate black unity. So they devise schemes to make that happen. Now let me play something else for you guys. Hopefully this is it. Explaining how welfare and how the government was basically maneuvering things. Now you're gonna have to really listen and take note of how these things have affected us.
Roosevelt wanted to see America move into a new era. The Social Security Act was passed and other measures followed: unemployment benefits, welfare payments, distribution of surplus food. With these measures, of course, came rules, regulations, and red tape, as familiar today as they were novel then. The government bureaucracy began to grow, and it's been growing ever since. This is just a small part of the Social Security empire today. Their headquarters in Baltimore has 16 rooms this size. All these people are dispensing our money with the best possible intentions. But at what cost? In the 50 years since the Albany meetings, we have given government more and more control over our lives and our income. In New York State alone, these government buildings house 11,000 bureaucrats, administering government programs that cost New York taxpayers $22 billion. At the federal level, the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare alone has a budget larger than any government in the world, except only Russia and the United States. Yet these government measures often do not help the people they are supposed to.
All right.
Richard Brown's daughter, Halima, needs constant medical attention. She has a throat defect and has to be connected to a breathing machine so that she'll survive the nights. It's expensive treatment, and you might expect the family to qualify for a Medicaid grant.
No, I don't get it, because I'm not eligible for it. I make a few dollars too much, and the salary that I make, I can't afford to really live and save anything. That's out of the question. And I mean, we live from payday to payday. I mean, literally from payday to payday.
The struggle isn't made any easier by the fact that Mr. Brown knows that if he gave up his job as an orderly at the Harlem hospital, he would qualify for a government handout, and he'd be better off financially.
Well, Miss Davies.
Mr. Brown, do me a favor, please. There's a section patient.
It's a terrible pressure.
Now, okay, so understand, what did I say earlier about how would they get this money out of our hands? And they made us consumers. So we lost our cohesiveness as a unit and a group to be able to wield our power, because we started getting off code and we started worrying about integration, and we integrated a hole into the bottom of our money bags. Didn't help one bit. Now look at this brother. He works at a hospital, living paycheck to paycheck. For his daughter to get the medical help that she needs, he would have to quit his job at the hospital.
But he's proud of the work that he does here, and he's strong enough to resist the pressure.
Mr. Brown, and you're fully dilated, so I'm here to take you to the delivery room. Try not to push, please, because you want to have a nice, sterile delivery.
Okay. Mr. Brown has found out the hard way that welfare programs destroy an individual's independence.
We have considered welfare. We went to see if I'd apply for welfare, but we were told that we were only eligible for $5 a month. And to receive this $5, we would have to cash in our son's savings bonds, and that's not even worth it. I don't believe in something for nothing anyway.
I think a lot of people are capable of working and are willing to work, but it's just the way it's set up. The mother and the children are better off if the husband isn't working or if the husband isn't there. And this breaks up so many poor families.
One of the saddest things is that many of the children whose parents are on welfare will, in their turn, end up in the welfare trap when they grow up. In this public housing project in the Bronx, New York, 3/4 of the families are now receiving welfare payments.
See how they did that? So making sure you instill a cycle of poverty. I mean, it doesn't get much more plain than that. That is firmly establishing Black people being in a situation of poverty. Now, when we talk about critical race theory, these are the things of history that have been done to us. Why shouldn't this be spoken of? This isn't long ago. There's cars. This isn't horse and buggy. But it was still important enough to make sure that we wasn't having nothing. Right? Why should that go unanswered and unchecked? And Black folks, again, one thing that was also said is how Black folks will now go to, you basically looking at each other to go against each other. And that's just insane. And so, no, well, I won't deal with that, but I don't fool with them. Yeah, oh, I get it. But see, the one thing, all of these other groups, they don't like each other. By no means. There's all kind of beefs. When I used to work for the small hat folks, you know, man, you'd be amazed. All the shady stuff they do to each other. But see, here's the one thing. They understand all of them are in positions of ownership, leadership, and power. So they keep that. They don't relinquish that. They'll do little sneaky stuff to each other. But as far as going off the rails to where it would benefit another group outside of theirs, hell no. You'll never see that. You will never see that. And if they feel that you're getting out of line, then all of a sudden the city gonna come knocking and your business your codes is jacked up, everything is janky, and they shutting you down because, hey, you went off a code and went off script. Don't get it twisted. People say, oh, you can't say this and say that. Well, either you own it or you don't. So you can't say, well, you can't get out here and say we run the world or we run this and we run that. Well, then where are you not in position? A position of power. Show me the area to where you're not over it. I'll wait.
Well, Mr. Brown wanted to keep away from this kind of thing for a very good reason. The people who get on welfare lose their human independence and feeling of dignity. They become subject to the dictates and whims of their welfare supervisor, who can tell them whether they can live here or there, whether they may put in a telephone, what they may do with their lives. They're treated like children, not like responsible adults. And they're trapped in the system. Maybe a job comes up that looks better than welfare, but they're afraid to take it, because if they lose it after a few months, it may be 6 months or 9 months before they can get back onto welfare. And as a result, this becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, rather than simply a temporary state of affairs. Maureen Ramsey has had to buy food and clothes for her family out of a government handout. For the whole of that time, her husband, Steve, hasn't had a job. Each week, he collects what's known in Britain as Social Security. The government looks after him, his wife, and their children. But accepting welfare payments means accepting the rules of those who hand them out.
My opinion, anyway, you feel as they own you. You know, there's no other way of putting it. Say I got a job tomorrow because I needed something. Well, I know that I've got to go down there and report it. Because I couldn't go into the job because you'd be looking over your shoulder thinking, oh, the Social Security's coming in. I'm going to be done for it. It's just hopeless. You can't fight against it.
The jobs are on.
Well, you know, two things I want to point out right here. Number one, you're an immigrant. So are you even here legally? You and your husband and all your kids with that accent, you weren't born here in this country. That being said, also, her husband's in the house and they got welfare. Notice something different here? See, welfare kept their family intact. Now they talk about all of these different laws and whatnot. Well, they can make laws apply how they want them to apply for who they want them to apply to. So this man didn't have to leave his home. He didn't have to leave his family for them to collect welfare enough to live. All she's worrying about is if she goes to work, will she lose her welfare? Black folks is like, well, and I get it. When they put you in this position of complete subjugation, all you can be is a worker. That's why it's so important to have Black ownership. And they understood the power of that black dollar. So when they felt the closest, slightest bit of threat, and that's when you know something is a threat, when they start using the words power, and when they use the word threat, those are some you might want to pay attention when they start talking like that, because something's getting cooked up in a think tank to be an answer for that.
No, these days, you only come up with about £45 a week. And then you deduct your stamp out of that. You still finish up with about £39. So what good is he working? When you still get the same thing, you know what I mean? I can't see any sense of it.
Of course, he's quite right that it may not pay him to get a job now. That's not his fault, and I don't blame him. He's acting sensibly and intelligently for his own interest and the interest of his family. It's the fault of a system which takes away the incentive from him to get a job. But suppose you were cruel and simply took away the welfare overnight, cut it off. What would happen? He would find a job. What kind of a job? I don't know. It might not be a very nice job. It might not be a very attractive job. But at some wage, at some level of pay, there will always be a job which he could get for himself. It might be also that he would be driven to rely on some private charity. He might have to get soup kitchen help or the equivalent. Again, I'm not saying that's desirable or nice or a good thing. It isn't. But as a matter of actual fact as to what would happen, there is little doubt that he would find some way to earn a living. The American government is trying to break the welfare trap. These people were unemployed. They're now being trained at the taxpayer's expense. It may or may not lead to a real job. The officials of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare are dedicated people. Their motives are good. Their achievements are not. The results of...
Well, that says enough. Their motives are good, but their achievements are not. So, taking that into consideration, welfare. Now, look at how the differences were applied. So, when it came to black families, most likely the father had to be outside of the home. But for the white families, the father could be at their home. Y'all just couldn't be working, which actually puts both parents in the house raising their children. But they made sure that didn't happen for the black one. So what they were doing with the black woman on welfare, most of them black women was able to keep their welfare while working because they didn't have a father in the house. So they allowed the black woman to get welfare and to work. Oh, Lord. Now, again, going back to that $15 billion of spending power, they had to get that out of the paint, and this is how they did it. And now you have a system of total control. So for all the little money that black folks, because black folks are, again, a huge buying force in this country and on this planet. So you have to make sure that you can control the minds of how they spend their dollars, i.e. through entertainment. And so what they do is a lot of, like, if y'all remember, if you're old enough to remember going to the mall and they would ask you if you want to be part of a survey. If anybody has been part of that, they offer you like $5-10 to come be part of a survey. Hey, do you have about 5-10 minutes to come do the survey? We'll pay you $10. You know, and I'm sure plenty young people did it because it's basically free money to go answer some questions. Well, they don't have to do that anymore because they have Facebook, got Instagram, they TikTok. They know everything that you're doing. Now, something that they also do is make sure they control what you ingest, meaning how you what you're seeing visually, what you're hearing repetitively, and then also controlling what you eat. We eat with our mouth, ears, eyes, and spirit. You know? So with that being said, we see a lot of we see a lot of brand promotion. Now, me as a black man, I'm not going to be on my platform swinging from somebody else's nuts. I've seen that done. And you know, for me, I don't really feel like addressing everything. I look at it this way: we are at a solid mission, and we are definitely doing something for the truth. So, for the truth's sake, I'm not worried about these fly-by-night people who will come and go, because again, the spirit has ways of handling its own business. And so if you wake up one day and see a video with a whole dude in the bed, well, then you know, well, maybe something is awry. I'm using the same software. I don't think those glitches actually take place. But anyway, so understanding the value of how we spend our money. Let me play this for you. And this is just a real quick clip, just showing you. You said, cuddled, and my wife said, wow, he is super snuggled. Jeez. Oh, Lord. Y'all are fools. Y'all crazy. Oh, man. Yeah, you know, but just looking at that past clip, the dwindling banks. See, all of this was by design, and they did a great job at making sure black finance and black capital fell to the wayside. They did a great job of it, didn't they? Bang up job. Let's snuggle. Oh, Lord. And, you know, one of the ways that they have pacified the masses of black folks is by this. You know, pray your way out, don't pay your way out. And instead, just look how rich some of these mega churches have gotten. So they made sure they got in on the money grab. Because again, controlling the black dollar was the point. So here you go. And again, why? Well, let's go back and see what they got to say.
Norm, except in one respect. Myers moving into Levittown constitutes an infringement of their own liberties.
And we understood that it was going to be all white, and we were very happy to buy a home here.
How about your children? Have you talked with them about the Myers?
We have tried to keep the discussions away from the children. I feel that it's something that we adults should solve without bringing the children into it any more than we.
Again, do you hear what she's saying? She hasn't talked about this to her kids. Again, think about this whole critical race theory conversation that we're having right now. Why they're so upset at the critical race theory? It's because the truth is coming out, and they don't want the people who would be coming up with them and their children to have the same information. That's one of the biggest reasons that is. Let's see. I want to get to this part right here. Yeah, there we go. Because this is one of the most important things to always focus on.
They are allowed to move in here in any number.
And what of the dream of middle-class respectability? If a Negro family can afford what you can afford, how do you justify your feeling of superiority? What other objections aside?
That message will never get old. I played that in my last 3 broadcasts. You got to understand the feeling of superiority. And look how desperate they were to make sure that we fell all the way into the permanent underclass. That's America, folks. And that is the history of American white supremacy, which they have allowed all of the other countries around the world to participate financially in our spoil and in our ruin. We owe no one anything. Not a damn thing. If anything, you owe for your ancestors and for what you're living with now. Because you know how you got it, and you got it by ill-gotten means. And what I just played about the black men, the attack on black men has been consistent. Because again, you got black men raising up, then you have women who are attached to those men who are raising children with different values than popping pills, drinking lean, popping mollies, and staying in a consistent state of inebriation. If you drink wine, if you even smoke weed, I'm not a big person to speak against stuff like that. However, are you spiritually in tune enough to be able to see things clearly to where your vision isn't clouded? If not, then, I would look to maybe start detoxing. It's not always a bad thing. And that's not even to say that you have to go back to, you don't have to just, but sober's better, I would say. But if you can't do that, then, by all means, find the way which works best for you. However, always keep in mind that whatever you're doing has to be beneficial to you. So if you're benefiting, cool. But if you're losing, then you need to just cut that loose. Let me see here. So again, like I was saying, I wanted to explain and walk it down. I knew this would be a 2-part program because there's so much information. So understanding the black excellence versus white supremacist envy. That's understanding white supremacy 101. And this is one of it, and just showing you how connected everybody as a collective group was on code to make sure we as a collective group stay the permanent underclass. You understand? And I think I think I gave about, let's see, I got all of y'all, got what I wanted to really get. But they the attack on getting the black man out of the home was definitely an important thing to do. And we see how it worked. We see how much damage it's done to us as a community. It definitely was not a benefit. And I don't know if y'all are really paying attention. I know the people who follow me are, part of this royal court. I know you guys already know. But for those who may be new to this channel, the satanic agenda is in full effect. So looking at what they're doing right now, they're being overt. And the reason why they're being overt is because if you can make sure that you can have a mechanism that can control the masses, well, then they could just come out right out, because now you can't buck. You couldn't buck if you wanted to. They made damn sure of that. Right now, you could probably sit up there and give misinformation about the jabs now. They don't give a damn. They got enough for y'all. And you better ask yourself, why don't they care now? Like, you could probably, Reza Islam's channel will probably be back up pretty soon, because look how many, they mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. I'm just telling y'all got to really, really, really understand. These people are not for us. And just, again, remember, all skin folk ain't kin folk. And sometimes even the ones that you love, and you got that old sister in your family that, she just really, really still holding on to the hope. She still got that candle in the window. Unfortunately, just like Jim Jones in Jonestown, those women were used to talk everybody else into a mass suicide.
What's in the infusion? I'm not looking up all of the ingredients in the infusion. I am sticking out my arm and I am taking the infusion.
See, when we say these people study, they definitely study. And one of the biggest things they study is the successes. Jim Jones, the whole Jonestown thing was a success. In mind control theory, absolute success. Now, if you were looking for him to be somewhere in the moral aspect of, no, you were looking in the wrong place for morals. And this is one of the biggest problems that Black Americans have, is you are looking for morals from the devil. How does that make sense? I want the one thing that has done nothing but hell and harm to me and all of my people. I want you now to somehow love me. We got to stop, y'all. We cannot afford doing that anymore. Again, let me just play this real quick, because I'm about to wrap this up here, and just play a few clips. Right, these are short. we'll be getting on out.
You feel, however, that we're making progress in this country and worldwide?
No. I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. If you pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that's a blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull a knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
And those are the critical race theory deniers. They won't even admit that the knife is there, and then call us divisive for wanting to educate our children about who they're growing up with. Do you understand? Derek Chauvin is younger than me. Okay? So you got to put all of that in perspective. These sentiments have been passed down. I'm going to I'll be doing a Women of the Klan show soon. And as far as this part goes, this wraps up this particular string of videos. So it's 3. Taking out the trash is 1. Then my last broadcast, and then this is number 3. So the Black excellence versus white supremacist envy, part 1 and part 2. All 3 are part of the same series about understanding white supremacy 101 and its full-fledged attack and perpetual hatred of Black folks here in America, i.e. foundational Black Americans. So with that being said, I think we have pretty much got this one in the bag. I think, everything that needed to be said was definitely said here. We could watch how it was a war on melanin. So please like, share, subscribe, share this with your friends and family. Because for me, I'm just doing my part, my little section of the new Black media. And man, I enjoy bringing you this information. There's so much that I haven't got a chance to ever share from all the stuff I grew up. Now that we have the ability to connect on a grand scale, I love it. So I could do this. Y'all can see I could go. But I want to make sure that, I get all of this information out to you. You guys can go listen to the replay. I know a lot of people may drive and listen. So, don't worry about watching too much, except for some of the videos I play may have to be read. But typically there will be speaking in it. So you should be able to drive and listen as well. Because I know Brother Silent D is usually driving when I'm broadcasting. And I do definitely plan to start broadcasting in the evenings as well. So with that being said, please go follow me on my social media platforms. Twitter, beatzillapdx. Instagram, beatzillapdx. Even Facebook, beatzillapdx. And at Melanated People, you can find me at Michael Beatzilla Whitmore. If you have any questions, you can email me at ourrealtruth@gmail.com. That's ourrealtruth@gmail.com. And if you feel so inclined to put your money in the bucket and drop a donation, help this platform, help this movement, you can do so. And all donations are greatly appreciated. Thank you in advance, and thank you for those who have already contributed. You can do so at CashApp $beatzillapdx. That's CashApp $beatzillapdx. And I think that should be it. Oh, also my podcast, which I've been kind of trying to do 2 things with that. So I'm gonna start probably going in on my podcast a little more for some of the other stuff I can't talk about on YouTube until they take me down there. And then follow me on Melanated People for those of the Melanated Nation here. So you got accounts, please go follow me on that platform, because I will also be doing videos. Also if you're on Melanated People, go follow the brother Conscious Outlaw as well. They've taken his live privileges from the other platform. So, because, when you speak the truth and when you speak for us, again, we just watched it. They don't want us being together and they don't want us unifying. So, with that being said, we understand what the objective is, and we must fight back against it. All right? So, with that being said, as we always say, Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling. Let it fall and let us rise. And just how I started this little series, I will end it the same way. Because here we are about the truth. Here we speak the truth. And that's all we can really do, because we have the truth on our side. So how can we lose? For those who love this bloody city, man, let me tell you something. Time is coming to an end. The party is almost over, and the world is lifting up this place's skirt. Because sometimes the stone of truth can't be avoided. And sometimes that stone of truth might just be that stone to knock your brains out. With that being said, folks, Mac Rue, what's going on, my brother? Oh, yes. Mac Rue also has they also have a platform that, matter of fact, we need to link up so I can start spreading that as well. So if you guys are up and running, let me know, because there is another Black-owned media platform that Mac Rue and his partner have established, and it's another FUBU, y'all. It's for us by us. So let's make sure that we support everything that's ours, Black businesses, Black platforms, because we need to be able to speak to each other uncensored. So, with that being said, I will leave you with the voice of another man who is often censored. Yes, indeed. Shalom, y'all.
You know who Satan is.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to kill him, no. The stone of truth.
Yeah.
See, that's what you throw.
Yes, right, right.
Allah says, had we wished to take a pastime from before, surely we would have done it. Nay, we cast truth at falsehood till we knock out its brains. Every one of you that knows the truth, stand up and tell it from the mountaintop. Black people can't take it no more. So wherever you are on the job, in the factory, I don't care where you are. If you know the truth, stand up on the truth and tell Satan, who the hell are you to try and pick my friends? Farrakhan is God's man, and you are from the enemy of God. So to hell with you. Stand up on it like a man.